moved into this house about 2 or 3 weeks-ish. And so we have been going crazy with moving. Family has been coming by, everything. So we are going to do a big restock this week of kind of like some pantry items because we have nothing right now. So we're gonna kind of do a bunch of random things, but things that we will need this week as the craziness is starting to kind of settle down, hopefully. But on today's agenda, we are going to make a couple dry mixes. So we're gonna make biscuit mix, country gravy, pancake mix, and then we're also going to make brown sugar English muffins and homemade Pop-Tarts. So it sounds like a lot. The dry mixes though go so quickly. In the sourdough, I have made so much sourdough in my life that it's kind of just second nature now. I've already fed my starter. It is not quite active yet, and so we probably won't be active for another hour or two. So that's gonna be kind of like in the middle as things going, since sourdough has so many steps. I'll probably have to like pause on something, do it, and come back. But that is kind of our plan today. So we are gonna start with the dry mixes. I'm gonna start with the country gravy mix. Okay, to start with our country gravy, I am taking a 32-ounce mason jar. I am a huge canner, and so I have a lot of these laying around. You can use like Tupperwares, anything that's airtight. I'm not actually canning this, I'm just using it as a seal. So the first thing that we're going to need is 1 cup of all-purpose flour. Now, for this one, I am just using bleached flour, but unbleached flour works as well. Take my cup, and I actually think I'm going to double this recipe. So I'm going to go ahead and do 2 cups of flour. If you guys are new to canning, anything like this, this funnel just kind of helps get everything inside of the can. If you buy like a canning kit, most of it will come with it. They're absolutely amazing. Okay, next we are going to need 2 tablespoons of salt. Again, since it's doubled, I'm going to use 2. If you want to just do 1 single batch, just divide everything I'm doing in half. Okay, next we are going to get our black pepper, and we are going to do 4 teaspoons of black pepper. Now, the one thing I love about doing this is you can really make it your own. So if you like more pepper in your gravy, feel free to add more. If you like less, add less. Dry ingredients, you really can just do whatever you want with them. It's pretty awesome. Next, we're gonna add 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. So, tablespoons of cornstarch. And this just helps thicken up the gravy. Okay, the rest of it is just onion powder, garlic powder, and sage. So I just buy these little things of sage because this is honestly one of the only recipes that I use it. And we are gonna use about 1 teaspoon of this, 1 teaspoon of this, 2 teaspoons of the garlic powder and onion powder. So 1 teaspoon of sage. Sage always kind of looks interesting. And then 2 teaspoons of garlic and onion powder. Now again, this is something that you might want to add more or less of, depending on how much you like it, but I love it. So our jar looks something like this. I am just going to close it and just shake it all up. You can tell this can has not been used because there's the little air seal in it. Shake, 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 shake. So you can see how this looks identical to country gravy in what you buy in the store. So if you buy one package of country gravy, I actually checked when I just went to the store today, it is $2. Now, obviously I used a lot of ingredients, which is more than $2, but you get a lot of it. And it's also nice if you don't have it, just having it on stock, because I'm a huge biscuits and gravy fan, so use this a lot. Okay, so this next recipe, you only need 2 ingredients, and that is to make brown sugar. So brown sugar is just regular sugar and molasses. So for every 1 cup of sugar, you're gonna use 1 tablespoon of molasses. Now, I want to use the rest of this bag, so I'm not quite sure how many cups it is, but I'm gonna kind of just measure out, see, and then however much is in there, that's what we're gonna use. So I do use my stand mixer for this because I want to make sure that the molasses is really incorporated, and that it doesn't have clumps and things like that, and it just kind of makes it go faster, because as this is mixing, we will make another simple little dry mix. I like to use my whisk attachment for this one. And then I'm going to measure out how much sugar I have left in this bag. Now, my favorite part about molasses is you can use this in cookies and some pizza dough recipes. It's really good, but it's shelf stable for a really long time. This is something that I don't use every single day, and so I love the fact that it lasts forever in your pantry. Now, this is really sticky and gooey. As soon as you get the 5 in there, we will just turn it on. Okay, this looks like brown sugar. So I use the mild molasses because personally I don't love the taste of molasses, but that's how you make brown sugar. So 2 simple ingredients. So if you ever run out of brown sugar, no fear, if you got molasses and sugar, you can make your own. Oh, do you guys see these kind of clumps back here? So I'm actually gonna put it back on and do it. If you've ever gotten molasses and it has a lot of those brown clumps, that's literally what it is. It's just molasses sticking. So I'm gonna scrape the sides of this, let it whisk again, and then we'll put it in the can. Another thing with brown sugar is it's not considered a fully dry mix because molasses is a liquid. So it is not forever shelf stable. It will expire a lot quicker than something like our gravy mix. So just kind of keep an eye out for that. I use it so much that mine doesn't get close to going bad. I make this probably every other week, just because I do so much baking, and I'm gonna use a lot of it actually today when we make the Pop-Tarts. So just kind of keep an eye out for it, just like normal brown sugar. If it starts drying out or getting kind of crusty, look for some other recipes and see if they have an expired one, but pretty much this is a universal recipe. Okay, there is my brown sugar. Now, I did put this in a 1/2 gallon mason jar. This is probably one of the larger mason jars you can buy. That's not a pitcher thing, but it made, so 5 cups almost filled up this entirely. Now, it's not pressed down, so it's probably a little bit less than this, but there's our brown sugar. Okay, up next, we are going to do our biscuit mix and pancake mix. They have a lot of similar ingredients, so I figured we could just do both of them kind of simultaneously. Okay, we are gonna do the pink one first. So we are gonna take our same flour and a cup measuring, and we are going to do 4 cups of flour. Now it looks like, I know it looks like I did 5, but that's because some of those cups were not complete cups. So then I did like a little bit of extra cups, okay? Next, my recipe is on my phone. That's why I keep looking at my phone. We are going to do 3 tablespoons of baking powder. Got the molasses off of it. Okay, so 3 of these guys. Again, I'm using the half-gallon jars since this is a pretty big measurements. Also, I don't have kids, but if you have kids, I'm sure pancakes are something that you use a lot in your household, so probably want to use the larger jar. And next we're going to do a 1.5 tablespoons of sugar. I have to open up the new one since I used all the other ones. 1.5. And then 2 teaspoons of baking soda. And that is teaspoons. And then 1 teaspoon of salt. Now, just like we did with the other one, we are just going to screw the lid on and shake it all up. You want to not fill this all the way up if you're going to shake it like this, because if you have a full canister, it's going to be very hard to make sure that everything's incorporated. If you don't really trust this process, you can of course just put it in a bowl and whisk it, but this is a lot faster and a lot cleaner. Less things for me to have to clean up. All right. Now that you're done, you have your very own Bisquick pancake powder. Pancake powder? Batter? Pancake mix? That's what we're gonna call it. Okay, so now we're gonna do the biscuit dry mix. Now, like the pancake mix, like there's stuff you're gonna have to include. Like I can't just put water in that and make pancakes. Like there's an egg and some oil and stuff like that. Same thing with the biscuit. So instead of using dry milk, or some people even use dry buttermilk, I just save it and will use milk when making the biscuits. So we're just gonna make the general mix. So that way all I have to do literally is take 3 cups of this and like a cup of milk, and we have biscuits. So we're gonna do 4 cups of flour. So that way it's enough for 20 full biscuits. That sounds funny. This one might be a little bit hard to shake up, but that's okay. We'll get an arm workout and we'll shake it up as we go. All right, next we are going to do 4 tablespoons of baking powder. 1.5 teaspoons of baking soda. Some salt. We're going to use 1 teaspoon of salt. My dog is spread out on her back right now in front of me. And then 2 tablespoons of sugar. The sugar is optional, but it does give it kind of like a nice hint of sweetness to them. Especially when you use buttermilk, it kind of cuts through the saltiness of that a lot. Okay, so now that we have it, all we're gonna have to do is shake it up. this one's gonna take a little bit because there's not that sure. And then to actually make it is we will use a cup of buttermilk. So I can use 3 cups of this and then about a cup of buttermilk to make the biscuits. Now you can do the cutting butter method as well if you want more flaky biscuits. So that's where you take a stick of butter, cut it into pieces, and you kind of knead the butter slowly into it, and then use, I would probably use like a half a cup of milk if you're gonna do that way. Just play it by ear. More than likely if you're making your own biscuit mix, you've probably made biscuits before. So kind of look at the consistency of that. I will also eventually be making videos on how I use all of these. So if you want to wait and see, that is just fine. But here is our biscuit dough. Now the biscuit dough and the pancake mix do look a lot alike, so make sure you label them. I am going to label all of mine after we're done, but I'm just going to put a little brown sticker on top to know that this is my biscuit dough. So now all we have left is the homemade Pop-Tarts and English muffins. So I'm gonna go ahead and quickly clean up all of our flour mess. Now all those jars that we made, so we made 4 huge bulk items. It took me about 20-ish minutes, and that's also with filming. I mean, you have to set up the camera, take the camera down, blah, 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 and clean things super fast. So it probably would take you 10-15 minutes, especially once you get the hang of things and you know them really fast. So yeah, not time consuming really at all. All right, now the next 2 recipes are the Pop-Tarts and the English muffins. These guys are definitely gonna take us a lot longer, but that's okay. They are so delicious and will definitely be worth it. Now we are gonna do the Pop-Tarts first. So we are gonna take 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour. I think I might have just enough left in here. Yes, I do. Yay! Okay, so 2.5 cups, and then 2 teaspoons of sugar. 1 teaspoon of salt. And then we are going to do the cut butter thing. So what I told you last time, we are going to do it now. So I'm going to grab my butter. Now, one thing about this is that you do not want to use warm butter at all. So that's why I did not need to have it sitting out on my counter, because we want it as cold as possible. So we are going to do 1 cup of butter, which is 2 sticks. And I am going to cut it first into the tablespoons, like the little lines that you see. And then I'm going to just throw it into the flour quickly. This process you definitely want to do a little fast because you want to try and not make your butter melt before it gets cut in. My butter is very cold. Some people freeze their butter for this. It makes it a little bit longer and harder to do the cutting process, but I do know that the outcome of those are really good and beautiful. So if you want to try freezing yours, definitely go for it. I personally have not, just because I already have a tough enough time cutting the butter. I definitely need a pastry butter cutter. My mom had one, and when I was staying with her, I used it. I was like, oh, this thing is so nice. Okay, so now I'm going to use a bench scraper and just kind of cut in, like squish the butter up like this. If you don't have a bench scraper, you can use your hands, but your hands have heat to them, and so you are applying heat, which basically just makes it not as flaky, but it's not the end of the world. I will eventually move to my hands once a lot of it is not in. You want the butter to be about pea-sized. Okay, so you want it to finally look like something like this. So the largest size of butter is about the size of a pea. Now we are going to add ice cold water to it. So I'm actually going to get a glass with ice water, and we are going to add it 1 spoon or a half a cup, but we need to do a tablespoon each time. And so what we're going to do is we are going to put the tablespoon in and then just mix with our hands. I'm actually going to switch sides here. Again, the reason why we need to do the ice cold water is all because of that butter. We do not want that butter melting yet. So we're just going to keep going. So I am at 4 right now, trying not to get ice cubes in my way. You can tell I'm just mixing, pouring, mixing, pouring. This water is definitely cold. 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. So I'm going to keep mixing this until it forms a dough. I'm going to put this out on the counter and keep forming it. I'm not going to add more water quite yet, but it does look like it might need a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and add 1 more tablespoon. Again, do not just like pour the cup in there. Add a little bit at a time. Dough is really weird, especially when there's butter in it, because it looks like it's super dry, and then all of a sudden you keep mixing and now it's super wet. So just kind of play with it. You're gonna kind of see when I make my scones, they do the same thing. It looks like the driest, grossest scones, and then after like 5 minutes of kneading, it's like too wet almost. So I don't know if you guys can tell, but see how wet it's getting now? So if I were to add any more, it would have been too wet. You would have to add flour and then knead all the flour. And it's not impossible, but it definitely makes things a little bit harder. Okay, so I am going to add flour to my counter. And what we are going to do is we are going to cut this in 2, because for Pop-Tarts, you have to have a bottom one and a top one. So I'm going to cut this in 2, and then I'm going to put it in saran wrap, and we are going to refrigerate this for at least 30 minutes. You can refrigerate more. I'm probably going to do the 30 minutes because I got things to do. So, all right, so I'm going to try and roll it up in a good ball, so it's exactly half. Take my bench scraper, cut it in 2, and now I'm gonna go wrap this and put it in. So while it is in the fridge, I'm gonna go ahead and make the filling for the Pop-Tarts. So we are gonna start with 5 tablespoons of butter. We are gonna need our brown sugar that we just made. Okay, so with our 5 tablespoons of butter, we are gonna add 1 cup of our brown sugar we just made. And I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of cinnamon. Now, if you're not a huge cinnamon fan, you can add 1 teaspoon, but I love cinnamon, so I'm going to do 1 tablespoon. Okay. Now we are just going to whisk this together. I'm going to put it on low and just kind of make it to where it's a spreadable type consistency, because we're going to eventually spread it all over. Okay, so the butter is completely melted. It should look something like this. So it's thick enough to where we can spread it across the dough. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn it off the heat completely, so that way the butter does not brown and the sugar does not burn. And now we'll wait for the... Okay, so while the rest of it was refrigerating, I started my sourdoughs. Now, I'm not really gonna show the recipe on how to do this on this video because that is like a whole video's worth on how to make sourdough, but those are going, and then I'm going to finish the Pop-Tarts. I'm actually not gonna be able to do the English muffins today because my mom is coming over, and so I'm gonna spend some time with her instead, which is totally fine. I just don't want to start something that I know I'm not gonna be able to finish. So I'm gonna try and get these done quickly. So I have 3 rectangles of parchment paper out. I have one on the pan, and then each dough is gonna have its own. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll this dough out to about the size of a like medium-sized cookie sheet. Over here, or about however long it lets you roll it out. We might not make it that big, but we will see. My grandpa actually made me this rolling pin with a wood lathe, which is super cool. Okay, the hardest part of today is rolling out that dough. Because it's so cold and the butter's still cold, it's really hard to roll out, but it's okay. I'm gonna make a beautiful Pop-Tarts. So that filling that we made in the skillet, I'm now just kind of evenly layering it. There, you should have quite a thick layer. Like when we bite into it, we should see a solid layer of filling. So I'm just doing that. And then I was really silly. You actually don't need 3 parchment papers because this one we're actually just gonna put straight down on the pan here. Okay, and mine are not perfectly rectangle like some people's. I rather have a little bit of extra than to cut off the waste because it's just me eating it. If I were to sell it or give it to someone, I would, but since it's just me and my husband. Okay, so now I'm gonna place the other roll one on top. Beautiful. Okay, so there's a little area that's not quite covered, so I'm gonna try and kind of pull the dough, yeah, it's stretching good, over top of all of the sugar. That way it doesn't leak out. A fork, and we're gonna push down all of the sides to help seal in all of the yummy sugar. Because who wants that to go to waste? I'm gonna have some extra over there I can kind of give to that side. So make sure this is what it looks like going in. Mine kind of has the shape of a fish, but I just gonna poke some holes on the top. It's gonna go into the oven for about 15 to 20 minutes. I'm gonna check it in 15, see how it is, but sometimes it takes 20. All right, last step is to make the icing. So we are gonna do 2 cups of powdered sugar, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, and then 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and 4 tablespoons of milk. Mix it up. When that bad boy is done, load it on top, and you got your Pop-Tarts. Stopped by while I was finishing the Pop-Tarts. So it's already been eaten into because I wanted her to try it. But guys, oh my gosh, this stuff never gets old. It is absolutely delicious. You can never go back to normal Pop-Tarts ever. So if you wanted to make this prettier, obviously you can cut them into Pop-Tart size rectangles or squares. That's kind of what I do, but mine are not perfect squares because I want to save as much, like this will be one. So I'm just going to cut it and bag it, and those will be gone in probably the next couple days. But that is my whole pantry restocked. I have the stuff, I labeled them. I couldn't find my label maker, so I just wrote stuff like this on there. And yeah, now I just gonna wait for the sourdough to ferment in time so I can bake those. But other than that, the kitchen's half cleaned. Gonna clean the rest of the half and get from there. But I hope you guys really enjoyed. I hope you guys got some inspiration or just some things that are like, oh yeah, I probably need more of this. But let me know if you guys love the recipes, if you make them. I love to see pictures and stuff like that. So bye guys.